Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Eurotrade. I'm your host, Marcus Stalker D. We have PPI today, so that might mean that they're not going to move it that much this morning. But let's do all the levels. I don't feel that great today for some reason. I don't know whether I'm coming down with something or what, but I'm going to stay on a combine if I do any trades. But yeah, so let's have a look at some of these levels. Let's begin with maybe with gold. So out of all of these three products, the only one that's in negative gamma territory is silver. So that means if we cannot go below 90, which is this call wall right where we are pretty much now located now, it means that we could see a move further up. Believe it or not, if 90 cannot hold, that will signal a potential to retest some of the levels to the downside. So I have 87 as one of the levels that is pretty heavy on the open interest, and not too far away from that is ADR low. Now if the trend continues up, which wouldn't surprise me, we're talking silver that's gone absolutely insane, we have ADR high at 92.15, but the implied volatility has been expanding over the last 3 days. Silver is generally a product that likes to sit at normal times. These are not normal times, but at normal times it likes to sit around 45% of volatility. We're sitting up at 68%. That's, absolute craziness. So I don't know whether I'm going to be trading silver. Copper seems a lot more stable, and it's a lot less insane, but it's still offering a really, really nice range. So that's the first step. The respective gamma flip level on copper is actually 6 evens, so nothing's changed. We still, in copper we still have pretty much the same prices. Not surprisingly, we have the Asia low, not too far away from that, and ADR low. So if we can get to 6 evens and then maybe do a little wick below it, then reclaim the area, there could be a nice swing intraday. But 605 is sort of a minor level. If it gets reclaimed, there's a possibility we go back to VWAP, but no further, at least not for me to hold a trade, because a trade location based off of the 605 idea would not have too much legs, right? Because it would be more of a scalp, because the trade location is just not that great. Now, if we cannot build any value to the upside, so I have the fixed volume profile, which I anchored to the start of this London session. We know that the London session typically tends to be a little bit muted, and right now they're failing to go higher. So another little scalp would be from 605 down to 6 evens. Maybe not like go exactly to 6 evens, just to make sure that you take some profits ahead of that. And yesterday I was on fast markets, and my trade was a short from ballpark this area, so 603.10, when we extended to the downside, and then it went straight to 6 evens. I think I took a good chunk of that, didn't hold it all the way, but that was the final trade that I did yesterday. And then I rested and then went to bed really early and just passed out. So yeah, no trades. So yeah, let's see what they want to do here. It's clearer to me what they're trying to do in copper. We went into another all-time high, finally, right? So it took us forever and a day to get there. After the big smash lower, we had many days and months. So here was the smash that happened in end of July. Whether that was an institution blowing out or something, I don't know, but it took us the better part of the year to actually retrace that. And now we're at an all-time high. They wicked above it and reversed it. So the hypothesis here, to diagnose the chart, is that if we cannot go back to this all-time high, where, you know, obviously we have Asia high there, the hypothesis is that they're going to go into some sort of a mean reversion, continuation to the downside, and in which case you want to look out for 6 evens breaking down properly, not just wicking below it and having a bind wick and all of that. No, you want to make sure that the sustained breakout below 6 evens is solid. And if you see how it played out yesterday, they wicked below it, but ultimately they were not able to do anything with it, and that's where we stopped. Now, some of the previous days, 6 evens was more of an orientation point in the middle, and prior to this day, 12th of Jan, it wasn't really a super major level. It was like, yeah, we had some open interest there, but then now that's a very, very important area. So ideally, I don't really want to be involved in any longs until we can retest 6 evens and see what happens. But again, there is a possibility for a little scalp if we start going higher towards VWAP. This is anchored to Globex. At the moment, once LME starts trading, I do anchor my VWAP, another one to the LME start. I also like to anchor silver to the silver fix start because it provides us with a better outlook. So already we have some hypotheses based on the levels that we have. So so the first one would be short down to 6 evens. Then maybe some consolidation, wicking, trying to decide, maybe some absorption happening, reclaiming 6 evens, and rotating at least through the 50% of this range. And the second option would be if we start to build value above 605 to do a smaller trade up to VWAP if it offers us the opportunity. And don't know whether I have another setup. I suppose if the PPI brings us some bullish sentiment, you could look for a reclaim of VWAP and then a pullback down to it. And then maybe the intention would be to run it back up to the all-time high and ADR high. So that would be like the fourth one, I suppose. But yeah, right now they're rejecting 605. Gold is pretty quiet. The volatility of gold is pretty stable. It's pretty stable. So over the last 3 days, we have not seen any changes there. So whatever they're doing, it's a bit more muted. Still a lot of movement to be had. It just seems to have stopped being insane, which is a good thing. So I don't know. Maybe I'll put on a gold coat at some point. All right. So 605 rejected. Let's see how they behave around this value low here. This is a developing value, so I'm just using that as a tracker, similar to a TPO's. Just literally a tracker to see how the price is behaving. Now on gold we have 4600, that is your gamma flip area. So we're very, very far away from that. Like I said, gold is in positive gamma. So some mean reverting behaviors can be expected. A lot of the days gold will be the one to take the lead, and then the rest of them kind of follow, either with an exaggeration like silver, or with caution but firmness for copper. But yeah, for now it's trying to establish that range, isn't it? So we usually get a range for London. Let me get some more water, hydrate myself. Got my sparkling water, living on the edge over here. And silver is rejecting 90 as well. Very, comparatively very small initial balance on silver. Actually a decent size initial balance on gold, bizarrely. But yeah, gold very flat. It's been consolidating since the end of Tokyo. We haven't even had that wick. Well, I suppose, is that it? No, that's 530. So I have this cold wall / Asia high. I didn't want to crowd the numbers and the levels in like a few ticks space. So the Asia high is actually slightly lower at 47.7. So we haven't had a wick through that level yet. They just made like a triple top. And yeah, so this is probably going to be more of a range than anything. Unless like some mad news comes in or somebody unwinds a whole bunch of positions. Silver is kind of flat-ish with an upward skew, right? So 90 is a decision point here. But it is the wrong time of day to be doing breakouts. So again, I would probably hypothesize that we will retest at least this low. So this is kind of the Tokyo take profit move that we see a lot into the final half hour of Tokyo or right after. So there's like an hour where you can look for take profit moves after Tokyo finishes. In my time zone, that's 6 a.m. on GMT. So I suppose that would be midnight Central Time and 1 a.m. Eastern. Middle of the night. Yeah. All right, let's see. Thank you. Somebody's saying, hope you feel better. Yeah. I just, yeah, I've been feeling a bit weird, and it kind of started last week, but I seem to be kind of fighting it. It's just that I'm more tired. It's just really bizarre. Yesterday, during fast markets, somebody was like, oh, is Dee sleepy or what's going on? Yeah, I was really exhausted. But yeah. Big battle happening around 90 here on silver. Battle. Get some boxing gloves. Chris says, snowing in Wisconsin again, ready for spring trading. We didn't have much snow here in, England. We had like one day where it's sort of just settled a bit on the grass and the patio, but then it was gone in like 4 hours later, so yeah. Sell for gold, not yet. Not yet. This is a range. If you were to sell here, you're selling in the middle of the range, and that's not what you want to be doing. So when you have some sort of a range, and if I get, let's get a box. Should we get a box? Boxes are fun. So we get a box, and if I see how they've done from the end of Tokyo, this is what you're working with. So where are the edges of this range, and where are the inflection points, right? So you have 46.50. Just under it is Asia high. And an important option, or a high open interest options level. So where would be the best trade location in light of whatever's going on gold? So it will be just below VWAP. And let me see if there's anything immediate. So 46.25. 46.25. If I look at the end of day levels, that was a GEX3 last night. Don't know how relevant it is this morning. Let me just have a look. DAX today, for those of you who trade DAX, even though we can't trade it on Topstep, it's very neutral today. But, I mean, the points of interest that I'm looking at DAX, when I look at DAX, are way lower, or they're around, I suppose VWAP would be as good as anything. But because we are sitting inside the value area, I tend to wait for a really long time, like typically 3 to 4 hours before I do anything on range days that are balanced. And this heavy put positioning. So there's a lot of hedging, a lot of downside put protection in DAX specifically. And I don't like to see that if I'm going to be doing longs, because it means whilst we are kind of around the all-time highs, that put protection tends to weigh everything down. And then if a level of interest breaks, which today is very far away, it would be like 25,330 in the futures, which corresponds to DAX index 25,300. So that's a more even number. But because we're converting into futures, you have to like apply the basis and stuff. So, but yeah, we're very far away from everything, and I just don't like to get involved in products that look that way. So neutral outlook, a lot of bearish positioning in the options, points of interest, inflection points way lower, but inside day on the profile. I think for now, before PPI, DAX is also going to try to go lower and then maybe establish a range, maybe like an auction fade or something if we end up in a neutral or normal day type. So right now it's nothing. So normal day type would be if we extend the initial balance by the same size. So you can kind of project that. Let me bastardize the the fib tool here that I normally use. So the normal day type would be somewhere around 25,477. But again, exhaustion points are lower, and then you have the value area, which could be reactive on equities. So it's all a little bit sketchy on DAX today. So yeah, maybe it goes down to the Asia low, maybe it wicks it, and then you might have something. But at the moment, DAX is looking really uninteresting to me. PPI may change that, of course. L2K sticks. What about crude or RBOB or any derivatives? I have not really traded crude oil intraday much. I still every so often get involved in RBOB and heating oil and natural gas as well if opportunities arise. I don't know what's happening with natural gas though, because they seem to have enough storage in order to contain any sort of an upward movement that will be technical for this time of the year. Right, so silver is breaking slightly, only slightly above 90, so it's holding. Nobody else is following though. So silver is in its own story today. It's like, yeah, let's go. And the rest of them are like, chill man, do some breakfast, coffee. But yeah, silver is like, now let's go back to higher areas. But yeah, when we look at silver to the upside, 95 is definitely an area of interest. And 100, strangely 100 has appeared in the strikes, which is bonkers. But the projected expanded movement in light of the expanded volatility, which is sitting at 68% and keeps rising every day for the last 3 days, we have to look for further targets, right? So you can't always use statistical extremes. Definitely some caution around 92, but I'm not really seeing any open interest there. So if silver is in a negative gamma, then it's very possible that they just keep screaming to the upside, and that's where standard deviations and second standard deviation can come into consideration for diagnostics. ADR high is around the standard deviation 1, and this is the second kind of extended target. But yeah, I'm not really seeing decent levels here. Copper is going definitely into a range, so let's see what happens in another 30 minutes. But yeah, it's not exactly grabbing me today. If anything, gold being in positive gamma could smack into 46.50 and then come back down, but we are nowhere near that at the moment. They wicked above the previous day's high, but on an intraday level, intraday perspective, we still need the takeout of the Asia high because we haven't tagged 46.50, and in a bullish market, it should really get tagged, right? So going right under the round numbers in gold, recipe for disaster, especially with a product that moves about 700 ticks on average. It's a lot of movement. But yeah. So RBOB and crude oil. RBOB could be interesting later on, but crude oil, I'm looking at 61. They kind of pinned it around 61.50. Don't really have a level there. Could be something in the monthly options, but right now I'm just looking at end of day. 61 could be something to consider. And we also have rollover, don't we? So crude oil is in rollover. Typically they roll it around the 17th of the month. So I don't like trading when something is in rollover because the volume tends to be split between the old contract and the new front month. So everything's a bit sketchy. But 61, if it holds, could be an interesting area to keep on your charts. This was from, I don't know, the other day. So let's have a look at the weekly time frame on crude because it loves to range, and I'm also going to get rid of all of these because they're very old levels. You can see that this weekly demand was eventually reactive. I actually had one options trade somewhere here, but then I took it off after 2 days because we weren't getting any initiation above the 60 level. And then I also did one smaller trade, again, a couple of days that I didn't really hold it too much because I felt we were, so usually I like 45-day options, right? But because we weren't really at the top of the range, I was like, it's probably not, I'm going to be running for like days on end. So yeah, I just kind of took opportunistic options trades, but intraday I just don't think we have enough range on crude oil, which is why I trade RBOB or HO, heating oil. Heating oil is very thin, but I feel like in heating oil, people who are in it have to be in it, so it's not very speculative. Therefore, it brings like fast movement. It teleports through prices because there's not enough liquidity. But it follows, on most days, will follow crude oil in a more exaggerated manner. And RBOB does the same, but it's a bit more liquid, not as sparse as heating oil, and certainly nowhere near as thick as crude oil. But you can see that there's more interest here, whereas if I pull up heating oil, you're gonna laugh because it's like nothing, 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 1. Nothing. Okay, there's a bit more here, but I mean, look at this. This is so patchy. Nothing, 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 nothing. One. And then you look at crude oil, which is a thin market, but thicker than either one of these. It's like 35, 21, 35. That's nice, but unfortunately, the volatility in crude oil has been absolutely pathetic in the last 2 years. It used to be my main product. Something seems to have changed. And when I look at this chart, really my next area of interest wouldn't be until we get to at least 66, maybe even 70. So that's where I might look to do some short options, which are risky, I know, but it's something that's worked for me really well over time on crude. Joe said yesterday during the fast markets, after the drop, it rallied. What could the logic be behind the aggressive reversal? I talked about it. So yesterday, let's have a look at fast markets. Actually, let's have a look at the overall thing. So I had a rough, these are levels from Asia high, Asia low from yesterday, right? So we had a retest of Asia high. We also had 86 that had quite a lot of open interest strikes. And the rally here was just COMEX. I don't know which part you're talking about, but if you're talking about this one, this is just your COMEX reversal. And the only thing you had there was, I suppose, VWAP and then looking for a reclaim of 87 level. And then they actually went even lower, right? So there was definitely some mean reversions going on. But yeah, it was your classic COMEX fade, that's day range fill. That's why we do the day range fill. So again, time of day is a level, very important. And Joe, you're on the program. So day range fill and post NY cut. Two things, two concepts that I will... It's a hill that I will die on. Why? Because these sort of things happen. So it's like, oh, why did it rally? Because the previous move, post NY cut. So what was I saying when I was on fast markets? I said, let's wait for my 3 p.m. So here it is. Usually there's a reversal because a number of things happen. There's the post NY cut, which is again options related. And we have all of these futures, all of the silver, gold, everything is denominated against the US dollar effectively. So whenever you have some relevant options expiring in the Forex market, and that happens every day at 10 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. GMT, you have a very high probability of the price reversing. How long it's going to go on for, nobody knows. I think this was Trump talking, but I'm not entirely sure. And then we had COMEX. We had attempt of reaching 86. And then time of day comes and they start to hedge into settlement. VWAP is ultimately reclaimed here. You can see the buy and wick, and then it ends up above VWAP, right? And then it rallies a little bit. But it was unsustained. Post NY cut, day range fill. Cornerstones of what I do. And also what I've taught over 10,000 people as well. Yeah, so Addy says, silver looks like it's getting ready for the next move. Question is up or down. So here's the thing, in the implied volatility being super high, they are expecting big moves, but even they don't know which side, right? So right now we're just range bound, and 90 is definitely a gamma flip level. So if we remain above 90, it could carry on creeping upside, and it's going to be doing that until at least we reach the ADR high. Right, so copper has a buying wick on a 30-minute, still inside the developing value. Let's extend these. Is anyone going into a building of value anywhere? Oh, this is a weekly chart on gold. It looks messy. Let's go back to intraday. Again, extending the developing value. Yeah, gold looks much quieter than these two. Silver does look bullish, but it worries me that we haven't tagged 46.25, because it's definitely a range now. So again, there's a correlation between these three. It's not like where you just stare at one. I like to look at the overall sentiment across all three metals. 4 actually, because I look at platinum too. But I wouldn't advise that for anyone who's like newer, because it just means that you have to look at more things. And with me, I know what I'm looking for, and I've traded co-integration, and I also coded co-integration bots. So I know, like, I'm very well versed, and I tried trading spreads back in the day, just with like 2 products. But I actually found myself trading baskets of products based on what used to be the carry trade, which kind of died a death after 2014, 2015. So it was a long time ago. But I do find that my eyes are accustomed to looking at like multiple things and then looking for correlations. And that's because I have the same tracking mechanisms, right? So we have the value area, we have ADRs, we have options levels, and then we're just looking at how all of them relate to each other. So I would say that gold is a lagger today, or I would say that silver is an overextended, excitable young person, if we're going to put personalities to the products, where these guys are like mature, and they're like, yes, we know what we're looking at, and so let's go, are we going, what's happening, are we going, are we there yet, are we going to 100, are we going to 100, and these two are like, hold up, just breathe. But yeah, I still think we should have a more serious pullback, which could be really serious in silver. But the way I'm looking at it, if gold starts pulling back towards 46.25, it's going to pull silver. And at that point, we could find ourselves down at 87 easily, right? I mean, what is that move? Yeah. So what's a 685 tick move between friends, right? But it is possible. That's how silver rolls, right? It's an incredibly volatile product these days. It never used to be that way. Like if you go back and you look at the sizes of the daily ranges, just mere like 4 months ago when I started getting more excited about silver, even though I've traded it pretty consistently. Not like every single day, because I was trading gold every day, but silver was definitely on my radar. And every so often it would be beautiful. And back in the day when I was starting out, silver was in a range. I don't know whether we can go back that far, but it had a beautiful, beautiful range, because it was being artificially held down, and that went on for absolute years. So I don't know whether they're going to let us... So how far back does this go? Yeah, so it doesn't quite go back far enough. But yeah, if you go back, there will be a period between sort of 2013 and I think 2019, so before COVID madness, they literally kept it in a range. And then when that started changing, I started looking at it. So when was this? So March, we established this high around 37. It's like, yeah, whatever. But then in June, it started popping up. And then finally, in July, I started mentioning it. And then once we were in this area, in October, remember, I was saying, well, silver is doing something interesting because we've broken out of the channel that we've been in for years. Like this is 2021, 2020. And we kept kind of wicking above it, coming back down, staying in range. This is a weekly chart, so it's massive, right? But it does give you an outlook of like what is actually happening here. And because it was artificially, effectively rigged for so many years, it's got a lot of catching up to do. Because, you know, gold in the same time frame, it rallied up massively. And now that there are potential supply issues, silver is going to also get more expensive because of the new export fees that China wants to introduce. It's definitely got a lot of catch up to do. And some people are even projecting like within, like let's say 30 years, that silver is going to be up at like 800, which is insane. But I will tell you that my silver bullions are doing very well. So remember when I bought that, I said that. It was 71.50. So I bought it here, beginning of the year, right? Why is this doubled up? And here we are. So yeah, I like, you know, if I'm trading commodities like silver, gold, platinum, I always like to have some physical ownership as well, because, you know, then you are covered on one side and then you can just effectively ride the trend with no stop losses and all that nonsense. It's just like a physical asset that you believe is going to appreciate over time, and it's always a better choice. Just kind of like have it in the background working for you, and then if it doesn't work out, well, you can just keep it there because it is still a commodity that is a physical asset. And if you got it so wrong that everything's just going to smash back down, so be it. MS says, I'll definitely play with HG, see how it moves intraday New York session. So be careful with copper, because from the start of COMEX, which is 1:30 p.m. my time, it really has until 5 p.m. GMT to do whatever it's going to do. After that, LME closes, and LME is the one that trades the base metals. After that, that's pretty much out of hours. So if you are not super patient, like there's still a trade to be had, but it's going to take you like 4 hours to get 1 R. Let's say, you know, 40 to 50 ticks. And I don't mind doing those because I have endless amounts of patience, and one of my superpowers is to be able to stay in a trade for hours on end when the right conditions call for it. I don't think that's the day, so just beware that you have until 5 p.m. GMT, which is 12 p.m. Eastern. But I think aren't you in like South Africa or somewhere, from what I remember? So yeah, you have a limited period of time when copper usually moves. Now it is PPI, so it could be an outlier day where, you know, it carries on, but just note that volume almost completely dries up and it just looks like random walk at that point. Addie says it's hovering around the upside area. Should we see it as acceptance to the auction or possible distribution? Well, at this point it's unclear. So if we're talking silver, are you talking silver? Again, you have to take it in context, right? So what is gold doing? What's copper doing? Gold, range. Silver, non-committal move above. But the implied volatility being so high, this is looking like, oh my God, it's breaking out. Just be very wary that you have an overhead supply here. Overhead supply. And we still, yeah, I mean, yeah, we have a chance of reaching Asia high for sure. But is it going to happen now? Without, like, if gold, ask yourself this, if gold goes into a reversal because it is in a positive gamma, this one, so mean reverting moves are expected, and it has an effect on gold, on silver. If we are down at 46.25, what is that going to do to silver? So you really need to make sure the gold level is aligned. If gold was above 46.50, whilst the silver is tagging 90, I would be like, yeah, let's play the breakout. But right now it's neither distributing nor accumulating. It is just waiting in an expanded range, because if you look at how the last few hours have been, this is also a range. Like, we have Asia high up here, but where have they been? Nowhere. This is the range. I'm going to delete the supply from the 4-hour time frame on copper and then do the same. So what do we have? We have a range. So breakouts here, look, if it's an outlier day, it might work, right? But it's going to be one of those 8% days. You know, the video that I just released on my YouTube channel, the 8% problem, that's the 8% problem. You're chasing this. And if it works, it's only going to be a function of the expanded volatility. So when the day comes, which might not be too far into the future, where the expanded volatility is not there, and we're sitting back up to like 45% rather than 68%, and you try to do the same trade, it's not going to work. And then you'll be like, oh my God, I tried to break out, it didn't work. Why? Because you're trading into overhead supplies, and you're trading at the top of the range at a time of day when silver doesn't normally rally. And you're also looking at gold that is not following, essentially just chilling there. It's decided to have a break, have some breakfast, you know, full English. So it's dining at this level. I would say the gold is in range, but it also needs to tag 46.25. I don't have a level put on the chart there, so let's mark that up for visual aid. That's a GEX 3. Let's call it GEX 3, right? Because it's got some open interest. That's where they bounced it from. Went over it, retraced it. Think that's an accident? There are no accidents. So yeah, I think silver is in a range. Everything's in a range. It's definitely a trending market. Is it distributing? We don't know. So the problem with distribution or reaccumulation is that you don't know. That's an unknown. So you can only assume, based on context, whether it's one or the other. So distribution, if it is a distribution, we should see a liquidation after that. This is your basic Wyckoff, right? Market structure. So gold could be reaccumulating, but we won't know that until the resolution of the move. So once we're outside of this bloody range on gold, then you will know. And then you can go, okay, so it was a reaccumulation. We went higher than 46.50. But it's just the way these three are. Out of all of them, looking at how the Asia market has looked, I would probably take the long copper, because this one's sitting up close to Asia high. This one is also sitting up at Asia high. Which of these three products has the biggest profit margin backed to Asia high? Copper. And all of them are at all-time highs, right? So, well, maybe gold isn't. Let me have a look. I don't think gold is all-time highs, is it? Yes, it is. So all three are all-time highs, right? But which one intraday has fallen sufficiently to go, hey, this is actually a good pullback and it's kind of lagging compared to the other two guys? So what is the better trade? How do I catch my big swings? I certainly don't catch them by going into overhead supplies intraday and Asia highs for breakout further high on hopium and going, yes, let's go. And then you have a moment of, we're in, we're out. What? Wait, what happened? And that's what's going to happen once the IV, the implied volatility, falls back down. So you're going to have a crappy trade location with a crappy setup that was working during the time when silver was crazy. And then take away the momentum, and all of those pesky poor trade location choices just come back to smack you and right across your face. So you have to diagnose the chart properly. And to me, silver looks terrible at this area. Now, look, if we go to Asia high, wicked, then come back down to 90. That's a different situation. So let's say we tag ADR and then smash all the way down. Maybe even go into an extension and we even wick below 89, maybe 88.50. Sometimes those halfway price points can be interesting. And then we're sitting at sitting inside the post and white cut day trading time zone. So what are we expecting? We're expecting some sort of a reversal during the post and white cut. So if we fell and we're not in negative gamma, then you would be looking for a mean reversion move. If we are in negative gamma, then you're looking for an extension of that move and still looking for some sort of a fade on the account that it fell too far for post and white cut. And then you're looking for a reversal either into COMEX close. And I never run swing trades before, like if I'm going to hold an option overnight, and if I'm going to, run a proper swing trade, I will never enter a position during London or early New York. Because in most days that won't work. Why? Because most days you get a reversal that like sessions fading each other sort of behavior. And you have to be aware of that. If you're not, then you don't know your product enough. This is not an equity index. Okay? It moves a lot. And it moves in a what people would say a haphazard way. But pin a time of day to that movement, and suddenly you start getting structure around it. And you're like, okay, now I see. Like yesterday, the reversal for post and white cut, I was looking for it. Why? Because time of day. And everybody was screaming in chat, gold is breaking out, let's go. Like everybody like super excited. And then I just said, just be careful, guys. Just be careful, And Jay knows, because I was on with Jay and Jack, the J and J. Jay knows that I have a concept called time of day as a level. So wherever we got to until the 3 p.m., on a lot of the days, I would say on 70% of the days, maybe even higher in certain products, but we're talking like metals, you will get a reversal. And what did we have? That was the top. So 3 p.m., here we go. Smash, retests, 46.25, smash. So all of those people who are like, yes, we're going up, yes, like super excited. Ah. What happened to them? They were super quiet. I even got a couple of questions because I'm shorting copper. D, why you short copper when gold, is going up? I mean, just wait. just give it a minute. Give it a minute. And, time of day matters in commodities. It might not matter in equities as much, but I would disagree with that as well. So, That's funny, Bruno. I like that. So Bruno just sent this to me. Silver Surfer, yes. So yeah, I don't know, I don't know whether it's distributing or reaccumulating. We'll find out. let's find out together later on. Don't forget we have the London fix at midday, so that's a ways away. So an hour and a half. Yeah, so about an hour and a half when you could see a sharp reversal. And if we're still hanging inside the same area, we're not above Asia high. That's like, usually again, probabilistically brings a reversal of some sort. Because it's price fixing. So everybody will be looking at that. And then do you want it higher than the price fix? Probably not. However, if there's a catalyst, because we do have PPI, and this thing goes crazy, then I look at my higher projections, right? So the next one will be for the prices to stay above Asia high, and then to ignore ADR high, and not to be reactive. So we could smack into 92, overshoot it a little bit, and then it comes back down to 90. In that case, 90 call wall becomes my area of interest. And then I have a new hypothesis that evolves with the market generated information, but it's already quite visible to me. I can already see that as a potential. Another option is that we massively overshoot and we get to, 93.50 or something. And then we go back to the Asia high and same thing. If you go back down, Asia high, is it reactive? Is it not reactive? If it's reactive, that's a new trade location for further longs. So you evolve the market generated information and you come up with hypothesis, not sticking to, it must go, everything that goes up must come down. That is not strictly true, okay? In trading, if that was the case, then we wouldn't be at all-time highs. In equities, we wouldn't be at all-time highs. In gold, they don't have to come down. It's not gravity related, right? And nobody is throwing it up in the sky and then going, oh, it's going to come down. It's the markets. It's not, it's not throwing a rock up and then having like let's say a 95% of chance that it's going to come back down unless you catch it up into the atmosphere and then it's just going to float in orbit. But, markets, that whole idea of whatever comes up must come down. I do not subscribe to that at all. And and again, similar thing is like trend is your friend. Yeah, until it's not. So how do you figure out where the stopping point is? Now, in very bullish markets, yeah, trend could be your friend. Absolutely. But you get the trade, especially intraday, at the wrong time, and trend is definitely not your friend because we're talking commodities and it will cause you to lose your shirt and more. Still don't have any setups. Gold is still sitting there. We're away from 6 evens. 605 is trying to reject, but we have a range on copper. We're above 90, but now some selling is happening. So look at that. They hit the conterminous line at 90.50. So, again, halfway point between the strikes. And what did I say about a range? It's a range. So if you ran a breakout, you would already be looking at a pretty big drawdown here. So I think we need to wait, guys. We have PPI as well, so we need to get that release out of the way. Then we might have something. But prices being non-committal to both sides, that's usually a range. So 46.25 in gold, decision point. 6 evens, copper. Silver is 90, but we're already there. However, because it's heavily influenced by whatever gold does, we need to wait until volume comes back in. You can see the volume has actually dropped off again. And we are trying to move the show time to slightly later when we can cover the London fix and silver. But stay tuned for that. Alright, let's have a look at chat. What's happening in chat? Yeah, Bruno, I saw that you said you deleted the 55 time, but it wasn't anything bad. Banging on means that somebody is going on and on about the same thing. So it's like, oh, he kept banging on about it. So it's not a, it's not a derogatory term or anything. It's just, it's like, oh, quit banging on about it. That's a British colloquialism to say that somebody's nagging you and they're just constantly going on and on about the same thing. It's like, stop it. Stop banging on about it. I don't use it that much. I think it's more like, I suppose, like more Cockney-ish terminology, whereas, I'm posh, in case you haven't noticed. My English is, I always try to speak properly, but obviously I'm not, like, initially English was not my mother tongue. I was born and raised in Belgrade, Serbia. However, in my family, everybody spoke languages. My mom and dad lived in London, and then my aunt stayed in London. She came to visit my parents and then just stayed in London. So London and English was ingrained in me since I was like 2 years old, even though conversationally I wasn't really there until I was about 11. So yeah. So I always try to be posh, but I also had, I spent some time in the States, and every time I'm over there, I think it's like my musician brain starts mimicking people around me, right? So 2 days ago, so Monday, I had some trouble with my router, and the team, because I said, I don't know whether my internet is going to hold up, the router, and Anne-Marie, Hogue, James, like everybody, they just ripped me to shreds. Oh, router. And I was like, all right, then, router. But it's funny, if you go back through my YouTube videos, if you go back to like 2015, I have a different accent. It's like a transatlantic weird blend of the two. Yeah. I see my sister is in chat. Hello. Weather's a bit cold. Yeah, Mom mentioned that. She's been freezing her ass off. She said she hasn't left her house in like, days. Like, Mom, you need to see some people. Like, it's cold. It's cold. Lance briefcase, okay. Markets move in waves, typically. It doesn't have to do anything, but it's not usually a no entry rip without a pullback. Exactly. It's also why I really, really heavily dislike breakouts. I absolutely hate breakouts. So Lan says, I like your English, the accent is awesome. If you were in the States, everyone... So this is the thing, I was in the States, but like I said, whenever I set foot in the States, something happens to my brain. Like, I can't explain why it happens, but I suddenly go native. So when I got married to my husband in Vegas in 2015, it's because we've been together for a decade before then, and we were like, you know what, nobody's going anywhere. Let's just, do it. And yeah, as soon as we landed, I literally went native, and I went from speaking like I normally do to completely converting to, like, nobody could figure out that I was foreign. And James is like, what are you doing? Like, why do you sound like that? And I was like, I don't know. It's just something that happens. And he's like, but you sound completely American. I'm like, I know. I don't know why. I can never do it when I'm in the UK. So I physically set foot in America, and immediately I'm like, I don't like doing it. It's just like, it happens. It's very odd, very odd. Start saying things like weird. And like in New York, whenever I was in New York, I was like, coffee. Like, can we get a cup of coffee? Coffee, because it's got a W. Get a cup of coffee or a pan. Let's get some eggs in the pan. And I don't know why I do it. I really don't. And it feels like I'm, somebody who hears me as an English person, and then I start talking to an American in America. They're like, "Are you making fun of me?" And I'm like, "No, I really am not. Like, please, no." All right, so copper, going back to the top of the range, tagging 605. If you remember the early days of TopstepTV, I was on Fast Markets twice a week. It was a lot, but for like 3 hours, we would all be there. And Hogue was saying every time we had crude oil inventories, he was like, inventories, and he would be saying demand. And again, Monday, him and Anne-Marie were laughing that I was saying router, so they were both going router, router, router. So there are posh versus Cockney for English accents. Yeah. So, what show can I give you as a... Are you guys familiar with Only Fools and Horses? Was that a thing over there? It's a very old English show, but it's like a comedy, kind of sitcom. And over here is like massive. It's massive all throughout Europe, I think. But I don't know. Do you guys know about it? So if you're familiar with Only Fools and Horses, they are very Cockney, right? That is it's like, "You're right, mate. What's up? Hey, love. Do you want to go somewhere?" They say things like Tuesday. It's not Tuesday. It's Tuesday. So it's THEW. And they skip T's. It's like they say things like in it. Although, to be fair, I say in it sometimes. It's like, "Oh, that was a good one, in it." And then you have the posh people, where all of the T's are pronounced properly. And then you have the ultra posh people that sound a little bit arrogant. And that would be like the boarding school effect. Usually they teach them how to speak. I actually remember going to university in England, and we had a girl who was very Cockney. Her name was Anita, and she kept saying, it's like, it was a music thing. It was a production, like kind of music production degree. And she was supposed to like introduce the song that she made, because that's what we were doing for our thesis. And she was supposed to say her name, say the song, who's it about, what inspired her, and in what style they're going to be doing it. And she comes up to a microphone, and she goes, "Hello, my name is Anita." And the lecturer is like, "Sorry, what is your name?" And he's like, very posh. And she goes, "Anita." And he's like, "But there's a T in there, right?" And she's like, "What? It's Anita." It's like, "It's not Anita, it's Anita. So can you say that, please?" And she's like, all right, Anita. So yeah, when you're in school, they will correct you, and they will try to sort of brush up on your... Not all schools, it's just mainly, posh schools, and they're very big on accents. Anybody who's been to like Oxford, Cambridge, noticed that they all, like, for example, Hugh Laurie, the guy that did House MD, when he's talking, he's very, very eloquent, very posh. He can do accents amazingly well, because most people didn't even know he's English. But him and Emma Thompson, they're huge mates. Like, they even used to date back in the day, and they both had that like posh accent, where every vowel and every consonant has to be pronounced properly. So yeah, there are lots of different English accents. And then you go up north and you can't understand anything. You go to Northern Ireland, and they're terrible. Like James Nesbitt, he's one of them. And then you can also go to Wales, where you know, something like if they say 1 year, it's not 1 year, it's like 1 year, 1 year, in all the years, or here, it's not here, it's here. And when I first moved here as an adult, I was like, oh, man, I went into a shop, and the shop assistant was like, may I help you? And I'm like, excuse me? I thought I spoke English, right? Like, may I help you? Well, may I help you, right? It's fun, though. It's very fun. Yeah, coupling, a lot of... So coupling was another show that was pretty popular. I don't know whether it's going to be popular in the States. I think they try to do their own thing, but then did they use the same actors? I'm not sure. It was very funny, but they all have very posh accents in there. So it's all like, you know, proper English and stuff. But Only Fools and Horses, they're definitely 100% Cockney. So, yeah. England and actually the UK is a weird country because it's like not that big, right? It's not like it's a massive country, but the amount of regional accents that you have just from one place to the next, it's insane. Even in London, there's North London accent, East London accent, South London accent, West London accent, and it's like just one single city has so many different accents. And then you start going outside, that's just hilarious. Mesopetia likes when I'm cracking jokes. Oh, Snape says, the concept of unintentionally mimicking accents is known as linguistic convergence, a form of accommodation where people subconsciously adjust their speech to match those they're talking to. Well, I never knew that. Thank you for that. Any idea what caused the sell-off? It's just a technical sell-off. We are ranging across all of these three products, and what you expect is range-based behavior. So you get to the top of the range, you expect some sell-off. This sell-off was take profit. If you're talking about this one, this was take profit of Tokyo. So you get to the final half an hour of Tokyo, you have a 90-minute time frame where a sell-off or a rally against the Asia move is going to happen on most days, and we can, you know, don't take my word for it. Go back in time. Go back in time. So let's have a look. So here is another one, smaller. So we established an Asia high. We get to 5 o'clock, 5:30, smash, and then London starts here. And they just chop around until we get to the price fix. And then they start livening up. So what we want to do is try and move the show to cover this time of day when, you know, it's still calm enough for us to do the analysis, but then we start getting movement. And I know it was supposed to happen last year, but there was some like changes because, again, Topstep grew a lot. And they were... just trying to get new people on board, and yeah, so now it's the new year, so we should be able to make it happen. Get a little Mariah Carey on your ass. But yeah, I don't really have a good setup here. We're at the top of the range in silver, bottom of the range, well, middle of the range really on copper. Gold is just very quiet. So yeah, volume needs to be better. You can see the volume has dropped off. Had a little pump here, and then it's like, are we going? Are we going? We're not. And until that changes, probably close to the silver fix, I don't think I have a trade, even on a combine. Even on a combine, where I can just click buttons like a crazy person. But even on a combine, I don't think this is anything to get involved in, sadly. So yeah, we're gonna have to wait. It's always the case when we have a release, but also on most of the days. We tend to have like this dead period in metals. It's really bizarre. Snape says it's very to part trader. It's a very interesting study if you ever have the time to read into it. It's mainly to do with empathy and relating to the people, person in question. So I don't really have a lot of empathy. I actually struggle with that. I'm kind of a little bit on the spectrum in that way, where I don't really know what to do with people exhibiting feelings and emotions. So in my case, I think it's just a matter of the musician's ear. And yeah, maybe it's to make sure they understand me, but it's all like done subconsciously. It's always fascinated me, like, why do I do that? I also talked to a French person, Bruno, you'll get a kick out of this, and I started to, try and talk like them, and I'm like, what am I doing? I just sound like an idiot. It's like trying to be a French person. It's like, why are you doing this, Dee? They're going to think that you're totally making fun of them. Stop it. But at least with American, because I sung in American, I suppose, accent for years. We had a lot of American movies. I worked with Americans. I still work with Americans. So I suppose it's in my ear better. I've been singing today a little bit. I haven't sung properly. Unfortunately, I have this stupid illness, and it's affected my voice. I don't actually have my high belt anymore, and that was the power of my voice. So I had a really, really strong belting register, and I just don't have it. Like I think I tried like 2 months ago. I tried to sing, so I still have like sort of like the middle range, but then for some reason my beautiful belting soprano voice is it's very difficult. So I don't know what happened there. But whether it's age, whether it's illness, whether it's both, whether it's me not singing for many years, that could be a reason. Daniel says, am I too early and too small of a target? So you're long copper from 603. Yeah, so for now, I would just play 605 as an orientation point. 610, a little bit of a stretch without some sort of a catalyst. VWAP is a better choice, 607.55 at the moment. But it's still early, so you still have to live through the next hour and 20 minutes, roughly. That's when the LME starts. Until then, the volume is very non-committal. So what you want to be looking out for if you're longing things, your entry is fine if it's a range trade. The danger is that 605 doesn't give way. And then where you're going to find yourself in a situation where 605 just, because 603, apart from being a range, is not a relevant level, right? So we don't have anything there. So if they start to push it with any sort of extended volume, we are going to see 6 evens. That's why I like the bigger outlook and why I don't really like trading in such a small range. At the moment, silver is trading within a 70-tick range from the start of London. That's very small. And whilst your entry is great for a range, you should have taken profits already at 605 because that's the only thing that we have at the moment. Will it go higher? I don't know. It might. I'm just really, really worried that 6 evens is going to be the one where they're going to make a decision of what to do on the day. But so far, tight range, play the range if you want. I'm kind of feeling a little bit tired today, which is why I'm on a combine. So I just want to, I don't even know whether I'm going to trade today. I have some other things to do, but mainly I haven't really slept. Like I've been trading Asia a lot, and that means staying up until 3 a.m. and then waking up at 7:30 with the dogs mainly, and then I have to start putting my face on for the stream, and I was just absolutely exhausted all last week, all this week, because Asia moves really well and it gives you drama-free moves, as you've seen, and I want to continue doing that. And it would be nice if we can then move the show to the time that will allow me to grab another couple of hours sleep, and we'll also get some more committed moves because we have the silver fix at midday, the volume starts livening up. It's pre-market COMEX. LME starts trading already at 1140 for copper, the base metals, and it starts waking up on silver and gold as well. Those were the times, usually the silver price fix at midday, whenever I want to run my pre-COMEX trade. And again, it might not be a swing, but it's a good sort of midpoint in the day for a new reference. Whereas right now, I'm just seeing this as a really precarious price action. It's like everything's, like if they were gonna run it up higher, wouldn't they've done it already? Yeah, so, and they haven't. They're just dilly-dallying in a range, so. Price point, so 605 on copper. It remains the top of the range, and for now, that is the level that you need to break in order to reach VWAP. And then you have VWAP to tackle for 610. But 610 is a good level in the options chain, right? So 610 has some open interest there. So yeah, it is relevant. And that's a pretty decent cool wall. And yet, overnight, they went above it. So, you know. And also, let's analyze the swing. Let's analyze the swing. So, just purely looking at price. Nothing else. This is the swing low. The last one that brought this pump. This is the swing high. Where are we right now? Middle. Just under middle. Usually when I'm looking at a chart in this way, I want to see the prices closer to, let's call it support, and for the lack of a better word. But it could also be a demand area from a larger time frame, but this is where the low was. So you need to try and run your swings, not from the middles, but at least from the bottom quartile of this whole structure. So if I maybe do a fib retracement, and I split this into quarters, this swing is massive, so you can't use all of this, right? It's huge. So where do you want to be? You want to look at the open interest inside this quarter and see how we're behaving. Right now, we have one just above the quarter, 605. It's not being reactive. Where's the next one? 6 evens. What's in between? Not much. Like literally nothing. How much space do we have for one strike to the next? A lot. So which of these would be the stronger opportunity? It would be this one. Why? Because it's very close to the swing low. That is where Asia low happened. That's the 8-year low. So if you want to run a swing up to 610, I would be looking for 6 evens and then to capture all of that. And by the time you get to VWAP, if it starts to mess around, what's going to happen is that you'll have time to decide, because now you're in a strong position. You have a lot of ticks. So, you know, even if you catch it somewhere here, you know, you have over 125 ticks, which is a lot on copper. That's like a third of the daily range. And then you can decide whether you want to hold it for 610. Are we breaking through VWAP or not? And VWAP will move, obviously, somewhat with the price, but it's volume weighted. So it's better than it's like a moving average, but better. And here we go. So they're trying to sell off now. So analyze your swings. Make sure that you're not getting caught up in the middles of the moves. And silver back to 90. So again, range is in force. Am I short? No, I don't have a position at the moment. I have nothing. I have nothing, nothing, nothing. If I don't have you. Yeah, so I'm waiting for 6 evens and singing Whitney Houston to you in the meantime. Yeah, so I want to see 6 evens. I want it to happen around midday, and then we may have something. But right now, still a range. This could still rip back up to 605, then do F all again. I don't want to get involved. So I want drama-free movement. Drama-free, to quote Jay, has to come with volume. So if you don't have volume, you're watching paint dry. And everything's going to be so much more difficult. So much more difficult. So what we want to see is, if we drop to a 5-minute time frame, to see commitment to one side and to see volume, not patchy like this. This one looks, actually, can you see that? This one looks like it's flipping you off. Flipping off volume. So you want to see commitment to a direction, which we don't have right now. It's flat. And you want to see volume with that direction going for like 3 volume bars above the average. So I always have the volume MA, volume moving average, and it's one of the J techniques. And yeah, it's not looking great. It's patchy. A lot of inside bars. We're not making new strides. We've just wicked below the range and pulled back inside it. What's that? It's range bound. But it's too small of a range for D to play it, right? Baby Ace, Deeyana can sing. Yes, I was a singer since I was 9. I started playing piano when I was 4. Then went into professional musician waltzes when I was 14. Started gigging at 14. And I did that for 20 years. So playing, singing. So alto sax, electric guitar, and singing. So yes, D can sing. But D hasn't sung for years, so I'm not going to be using my full voice. Because that is like crying cats once I get... And I have a new break as well. If you know anything about singing, my break used to be really high up, but now it seems to have come down to like, just like A, which is weird because that's low for me. It used to be up at like D, D3. D3? C1, C2, no, D2, and now it's at A1. It's like, what? Musician stuff. It's like talking in code, right? what? Yeah, the eagle has landed. Alright, so I'm going to finish the stream. There's nothing else for me to do. You have the levels, so watch 90 for orientation on silver. If it starts to break down, we shall be once again in negative gamma territory. 87 and ADR low would be on the cards. Be mindful of the previous ranges, which at the moment are sitting just under 89. So if they cannot committally go below that and they kind of bounce down to 88, then start coming back up. Use time of day for assumptions of when the reversals are going to happen. If 90 stays, you will be looking for an extended move up to ADR high. But first it needs to tackle Asia high. Could be a little swipe to 92, then a hedge, then maybe another run higher. And if we're going for another crazy day, which is not out of the question since we do have PPI, which could bring us an extension, the second standard deviation is up at 95, where we also have some strikes from the monthly options outlook. Gold, the pinpoints, so the orientation points of 4650, that is a call wall and just above Asia high, because Asia high was actually just slightly under it. We have 4625 as a decision point for this range. So again, if they go lower, your gamma flip is actually pretty far out. It's 4600, whereas these guys have it a little bit closer. But if we do manage to get to GEX1, 4600, you may find that they want to hedge there. Out of all of these, gold and copper are in positive gamma territory, which means mean reverting is very high probability, not a given, because they can still go into a big rally even on a positive gamma day. They're just going to trickles upside. But it's not going to be as violent as silver, which is in negative gamma. Remember, negative or positive gamma is not direction. It's literally just the market environment and how we expect the dealers to behave. If it's positive gamma, they hedge against the movement, typically. But if it's negative gamma, they will hedge with the movement, amplifying the moves. So I'm going to leave you with that. I think we had a nice little session of chatting. Unfortunately, no trades. Everything's in a range. We've got PPI. Moves will come much later. So we have to wait until the volume wakes up and until somebody's had some coffee. Me. And then we may have some trading to do. How much trading I'm going to be doing, I don't know. I feel like my mental capital is already pretty exhausted from the last sort of 10 days. And I just need one day where I'm not staring at the markets and trying to decide what to do. So maybe I'll spend a little bit of time filming some videos, maybe an app, then some video games, and then that'll be it. So that's all I have that's all you have from me today. Is that how I sign off? I have trouble signing off sometimes when I'm tired. That's all from me today. I shall see you tomorrow for another episode of the Eurotrade. And this was the Eurotrade on TopstepTV. I'm Max Tukadi, and it all rhymes. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.